Joining me right now, one of those who's not on board, one of the 20 Republicans who voted no on the bill, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Congressman Gaetz, good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be on.
All right, so why no?
It's a great idea to cut taxes. It's an even better idea to do so while we cut spending. The House of Representatives passed a budget that cut spending by over $200 billion by saying that people who were healthy and could go to work should actually go to work before they get any type of government assistance or subsidy. That was not a view held by the Senate. Some of the gutless swamp creatures over there made sure that we didn't cut a dollar in spending. And I think that tax cuts and spending cuts will go wonderfully together. We just need to do them at the same time.
Are you going to be able to accomplish that? I mean, you know, you got to see the forest for the trees in all this, right? And you do want the tax cuts. I know you want those. If you have to give up a little something on the way, is the idea you spend money to make money?
Well, we want to make sure that the value of the tax cuts is actually felt throughout the American economy. It would be a real travesty if our businesses had the resources to go and hire more people and open new locations, but we didn't have a workforce that was ready to get off the couch and go and take some of those jobs. And right now, there are far too many government incentives to not go to work for able-bodied people. And so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get some of the principles that we've been fighting for in the House for spending cuts and welfare reform and workforce reform into this package, and that ultimately it'll be a really great thing for the American economy. So again, tax cuts, great idea, but we've also got to focus on cutting spending. We've got $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities. The total wealth of the planet Earth is only about $140 trillion. So we won't be able to cut taxes enough if we don't also cut spending.
Look, I agree with you on that. And I think we have to think pretty hard and long about our future. And I got little kids, and I don't want them to be paying for all of us for the rest of their lives and not have the same opportunities. And when you're looking at $20 trillion in debt, you know, you start to realize how much we need to be making hard choices. So let's explore this work issue, because I think, you know, one of the dangers of saying, hey, you know, you can live off unemployment is that there's not the right kind of incentive for someone to go out and get a job. I'll tell you a quick story, Congressman. Every summer, as a teenager, my mother would give me one day off when I was out of school, and she'd say, get out of the house and do not come home until you find a job. And so I'd get out early on my bike, and I would look, and I didn't dare come home, Congressman, without having a job. But there was an impetus, there was a reason.
Can we run her for the United States Senate?
She'd be good. But Congressman, how do you incentivize a population? You know, if you can sit back and get a handout and not have to go to work.
Well, an overwhelming number of Americans support the reforms that were instituted on a bipartisan basis with President Clinton and Speaker Gingrich. And I think that we've got to go and undo some of the terrible work that President Obama did to go and waive those work requirements. Look, if all we did in this country was say that if you're able-bodied, if you don't have any children, you're not a senior, you're not disabled, you've got to meet a work requirement by getting a job, looking for a job, or volunteering somewhere, I think it would get people a lot more active in the workforce. And this has a direct nexus to the tax bill. I own a small business, and in my small business, my biggest challenge is that I'm competing against a government that will pay people to stay home. It'll pay for their transportation, their cell phone, their health care, their child care, and it makes it harder for folks to want to come to work for 15 or 20 bucks an hour. And so I think we've got to pair this tax reform that will empower our small businesses to hire people with the actual incentives in the economy that will get people working again. That's going to give us the type of dynamic economic growth that we absolutely need to save this great country.
Well, as I've always said, people make logical decisions. They're not doing this, you know, without some kind of reason behind them. And the decision right now is, in some cases, to live off of these benefits because it's more worthwhile. Matt Gaetz, thank you so much. We'll see whether or not this all transpires and whether or not we do get these tax cuts. Thank you, sir.